Kirby, Russia. Right across from me is Sonia van den Ende, who is a journalist who you may have actually read some of her work, and she is now, well, as of, I guess, yesterday, you're now a permanent part of Russia with a temporary residency permit. So first off, congratulations, and before we talk about your opinions and some of your work as a journalist, I think it'd be kind of interesting for the audience to hear, how did it come that now you're kind of with me on the Exile Club here in Russia? So now you're stuck here because you were originally from the Netherlands, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Well, I came here 8 months ago to cover the special operation in the Donbass. So I went there 2 times, and then I got here. Somebody told me here that, oh, sorry, but I think when you go back to the Netherlands, you will be in a big trouble. So I tried to figure out what was going on there, and well, they put sanctions. First of all, I'm on the EU disinformation list, so that's in the whole Europe. And then the special service, secret service in the Netherlands, I'm also on their list.
Well, yeah, well, so hold on, you're kind of jumping ahead. So what you're saying is there isn't a list within the EU of journalists who cover Russia-related things and say things that they don't like, or who's on this list besides yourself?
Well, journalists who cover Russia, who cover, for instance, the Middle East, like Syria, Lebanon, Iraq.
Ah, yeah, I see.
Also. So they call us, we are spreading misinformation. That's how they call it.
And do you face jail time, or you're not allowed to work as a journalist, or what's essentially the punishment of being on this list?
Well, on this list, they will not allow you to work for regular news outlets, of course. So that's number 1. And in my own country, they will probably not, maybe they will put me in jail. I don't know about this, but
best not
most
try to
likely,
find out.
No, I will not try to find out, so I will not go back now. So, but most likely, yes, this is what they will do.
Well, since you possibly sacrificed for the rest of your life the potential to be in your country of origin to film the Donbass, maybe you could tell us about what you filmed and what you saw and what you wrote about in the Donbass.
Well, I wrote a lot of articles about it, I think about 10 or 12. I went on 8 or 9 trips all the time, a few days I went there. And yes, I covered Mariupol, Volnovakha, Luhansk, actually the whole region I went to, and I saw the remnants of the Azov battalion. I was in Azov steel factory. So yes, I saw the whole picture, actually what was going on there, and it was horrible. So
you were going into the Azov steel factory after it was taken by the Russians, right?
Yes, a few days. It was taken in May, and after 3-4 days we went in with a group of journalists, and we saw all the things from the Azov there. Could still smell, unfortunately, the bodies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides the unfortunate odors, what was down there?
A lot of stuff from them, so like they had all these signs from Nazi Germany, like Mein Kampf was still there.
Oh, I see.
The SS signs, a lot of books about combat. They had military stuff from the SS from Germany, from these old books, or from the neo-Nazis. Also, there was a manual from, I suppose, from NATO somehow. There was a manual how to do certain things in combat, so that is what they were studying. So a lot, the personal stuff like clothes and helmets, is all still there.
And what did you talk to any of the locals in Mariupol about their experience living in the situation? What did they have to say?
I spoke to a lot of locals, mainly a lot of women, because the men were on the front, women with children, older women. And they all actually say the same thing, it's, there are Nazis, they came here and we had to go into the basement because, they take us hostage in the basement, so that's very terrible. Some of them didn't have food for a few days, and also they said when they sent people out of the basement to get even food for this Azov battalion who was held in them hostage, and they were shot in the knees, so this was very terrible. And that was usually the men, because there's still old men there, maybe a few younger ones. And it was terrible. They raided the shops there, they destroyed the whole thing, apartment buildings, shot people randomly, so yeah, horrible.
Now, with the, who allowed you to go into Azovstal? Was this then the Russian military or the local militias, like the DNR, LNR militias, or who got you in there? Like, and also, how did they, let me put it this way, I could imagine that they might have some suspicions about you as a Western journalist going down there. So how did that all come about?
Well, we actually went with the Russian army, so this was from the Ministry of Defense.
Okay, so the actual Russian Army, Ministry of Defense,
Yeah,
gotcha.
they somehow protected us. That you never know what, anything can happen there. So there were always few military guys there to protect us. So we went in with them, and of course, when I spoke to people, because I don't speak now, I'm trying to learn Russian, of course.
No. Takes time.
Takes time, no, it's okay. But that time it was in the beginning, so I was here for 1 or 2 months. So I needed a translator, and in the beginning they were always from the Netherlands, the West, this is this is the result of what is going on, because the West is supporting all this Azov militia here. But after a while, then I spoke to them and said, yeah, of course, I'm not supporting Azov militia. I try to cover this here and give a clear view of what is really going on here, and not what the mainstream media in the West is telling.
So initially they were very skeptical of you, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But when they got explained how, why, and what I'm doing, then they were, very good that you're here. And they were very happy.
Well, you definitely mentioned that there was what we would call blowback for your opinions back home in the Netherlands. But has anything that you've written maybe disappointed the Russian side, or have you heard anything, or is Russia a lot more open-minded than one might think?
Yeah, I think the last open-minded, because in the West they say, in Russia, you face 15 years in jail when you are not writing according to their what their standard is, or fake news. Well, of course, ridiculous, but okay. But I wrote what I saw, and I don't know, I never heard any complaint from the Russians here or whatever, so it's just I wrote what I saw. That's what I always try to do, because that's what journalism is about.
And so what do people in the West not understand about this war in Ukraine? There's a lot of things you could call it. You could call it special military operation. I've often called it, as my viewers know, the hot phase of the war, because I think the war started in 2014. Depends on your interpretation of history. But this thing that's happening down there in the Donbass, what do people in the West not understand about it?
Well, they didn't get the information, what you said, from 2014 until the start of the special operation. So this whole 8 years, they don't know about. Maybe they heard a little bit in the media, there's a war going on, but they are separatists. They said they are not good people because they are supported by Russia, and Russia just want to grab the land, or want to confiscate Ukraine, and this is what they think. So this is what they got in the media, but not the real story of what really was going on.
So for them, this just kind of happened in February of 2022 out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then of course the politicians in the West are saying, look, Russia is taking the land of Ukraine, and it's not good because they are starting a war, and Ukraine has to be a sovereign EU state, of course. So this is what they say, and they missed this whole period.
Well, one thing I can say, this might be a little bit of a long question, so have a little patience here. Okay. So the West is always very confident that the West is the best. Okay, it's very, I think probably even since like the Roman times and so on and so forth, the West has seen itself as being, the apex of civilization, the best. So I kind of understand how they may not care what's happening. The Russians are bad because they're against us, and that's all that matters. But now the Russia being against the West has come at a cost. You mentioned before this interview that the cost of electricity and stuff in the Netherlands is so insane that you were actually forced to sell your family business at some point. So is the mentality in the West, maybe in Europe, I mean, I know the American mentality, I'm well exposed to America and Canada, but I mean like in your Netherlands, your Belgium, your Germany, are people starting to think, okay, the West is the best, but we need to just let this go. We need to maybe just let this Ukrainian thing go. Has the attitude started to change, or not really?
Well, I think especially in the eastern part of Germany it's changing, but it was changed already during the COVID time, so I know that.
Yeah.
But in the Netherlands I hear now some voices saying, yes, it cannot be like this, our Prime Minister there, Rutte, is telling us every Friday night, yes, it's our war and we have to fight for this, and we have to suffer for this, and we have to suffer because Ukrainians are dying because of Russia. So I mean, it's crazy, and a lot of people now see, yeah, but it's crazy because I cannot eat, and Ukrainians are for Ukrainians. It's far away, so why? So I think people wake up now a little bit. I hope a lot of people. I'm not sure yet, but I mean, I think we have an opposition party, for instance, in the Netherlands, and they are doing well now, and he is explaining all the time on TV or social media that this Ukrainian war was actually made, what we said before, from 2014. This is actually what was happening, and it's not a war from Russia, it's just a special operation and trying to help the people there because they are suffering already for 8 years. So I hope people take notice of this, and of course now the people their gas bill is very high.
Oh yeah.
The food is very expensive, so...
Unfortunately, it's gotten expensive here too. I don't know if you've noticed, but someone with kids, it's a little rough. But anyways, I cut you off there.
Yeah.
So,
No problem. But so this is now, when usually you come to people their food or their basic needs like gas or heating, warm, then they start, I hope they start rising up. They do already, they do. I think this coming weekend there's another demonstration going on in the Netherlands. East Germany, every Monday night they walk for this point. So.
Now, what are these opposition forces in the Netherlands called? What is this called?
Forum for Democracy, Forum for Democracy.
Oh, okay.
It's a political party.
Uh-huh.
So, and he is quite good. This guy already did, when the Syrian war was on, he was already explaining, what is going on. So, let's hope.
There's a less political question. I've noticed with a lot of foreigners who come to Russia, there's sort of these two camps. There's sort of the people who come here because they want to, and they tend to like it. And the people who sort of found a job here, or they met some girl, and they come here kind of by accident. They tend to not like it very much. Now, you never planned to start a life here, so is it hard to adapt to Russia when you never really asked to be here? Are there things here that are starting to be annoying besides the language? That's of course.
Yeah. The language is okay. I'm trying to learn now.
Yeah.
No, maybe it's a bit easier for Europeans because actually Russia is Europe. I mean, a large part of it, like Moscow or St. Petersburg, are more European. So no, okay, the life was a little bit similar, like it was before the old Great Reset thing.
Wow, so modern Russia is the Europe before the Great Reset.
Yes.
That's our quote of the day here. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think, because you see all these shops here. A lot of shops, you see all the museums, you see the beautiful buildings, and you see modern people walking. And so of course there are differences. That's normal. But before the Great Reset, people like in Europe tend to get married, maybe get children or get divorced somehow.
Well,
but,
that happens.
Happens, yeah, I know. But now this woke ideology in Europe, like maybe in the US, it's kind of crazy.
Well, the thing is, I kind of have the weird experience of some people are kind of that are kind of our viewers and fans think that maybe I had some sort of prophetic vision of like where things were going. And the thing is, in a lot of ways, wokeness really I think happened in the African American community first. And I'm from a black neighborhood, and so this, like especially the death of the family, that stuff, that was all happening when I was a kid in the 90s. Like the whole, I'm a single mother, I don't need a man, feminism, and you can see it, and I could see with the boys around me, the black American boys around me, that the boys who had a dad, the 25%, had much, much better lives than the boys who didn't. And that's one of the reasons why, although things didn't quite turn out with getting married the way I wanted to, I understand that men have to stay in the lives, especially their sons, probably their daughters too, but with their sons I think it might be even more important. But anyways, this woke stuff, it was experimented on with black people first. Because another thing that I said, a very long time ago in an interview in Russia, is the point that I think it actually is about half of black Americans are never born due to abortion. And at that time, I know they've clamped down on it, but that was about the same thing with Russians too.
Yeah, yeah.
Exact same thing, and I see the same, and I see some of the same problems that those kids who had no dads do.
Yeah.
In Russia, because a lot of, people, there's a lot of divorce here. I don't know if you've noticed, but we maybe have conservative values, but we're doing a bad job of it, so.
Like in Europe.
Yeah, well, no, the
We
difference.
do, I mean.
Well, no, the difference is, it's like with Russia, is that Russia's like an alcoholic that knows that drinking is bad.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other people that are like, I don't have a problem, I just like to have fun. And so I think that's the thing where people mistake it. It's like people know, okay, we should have a more traditional society, but it's kind of hard to do it after not doing it for a long time and not being in the rhythm, you know?
Yeah, I have to adapt to this point.
Yeah.
But I think it's same in the Netherlands, because we were always a very open country. I think one of the most open in Europe, actually, I think. So we already had, I don't know, in the 80s, 90s from last century, there were gay men and so on. It was normal. Okay, they didn't go on a boat like a gay parade or something, but they were accepted as long as they don't, make any problems, no problem.
Yeah.
So, but now these people are somehow put on a, how do you say it, pedestal, that they are very, very rare, and but it was not. It's normal. Also, dark people, we have a lot in the Netherlands, because we had these colonies, Suriname and Indonesia and the ABC Islands. So it's normal there. And also the people from Suriname are like the dark people in the US. They usually have no husband, so. Mothers only have one, they don't know who the father is, maybe, I don't know.
But you also have to remember that that's a new phenomenon. That's one of the paradoxes in America. It was like, back when there used to be this real systemic racism, the black family was very strong. And then they got rid of it, and it kind of fell apart. It's like, what's going on? Same thing, I think, same thing with Russia. Same thing with Russia is, I think the thing in Russia that happened is a whole generation of men were killed during World War II, and that meant the next generation of men didn't have fathers, and that's where it began. So a little bit of a different problem, but yeah. In fact, I just did of your countryman who happens to be half from the former colonies. Do you know Alistair Overeem? I just did the voice of a documentary about him, of kickboxer fighter guy. So
Okay,
huge gentleman. They say people in the Netherlands are tall. That guy's
not
really
me,
tall.
but okay.
No, so.
But I have some part of Indonesian.
Oh, really?
So that's why I'm,
Well, yeah, I think everyone is a part of it. The other day, these one of my Russian friends, he did some sort of DNA test, and it came back like 2% Inuit. I don't know if you know, but Inuit are like the native Indians of Canada. So anything's possible.
Yeah, then of course I'm married to a Syrian man, and I have a daughter and a son who are half.
So before wokeism came about, what was like the political discourse in the Netherlands? Or was there really not much being discussed?
Well, actually, yes, because we were, as I said, we were one of the most open countries in Europe. And so I don't understand why they go along with this whole woke ideology, because it was normal, accepted already that people are different. And as I said, as long as you stay normal, it was normal, actually. And when I went to school, when I was young, there were already Turkish people, Turkish boys, girls in the class, or a lot of Indonesian. So I was used to it. And now they make a fuss out of it, discrimination and racism and.
Well, one thing is, in America, I can say, unfortunately, despite all the government's efforts and all this stuff, there is still kind of a bit of an invisible wall. Because even when I was a boy, like, there's nothing, absolutely no, like, force that kept whites and blacks apart. But it was always kind of hard to kind of make friends, or although I did have black friends, but it was always, there's always this weird sort of divide. Like in the Netherlands, do you think that the people there who are from the colonies, did they really become Dutch at some point? Or are they always kind of like Dutch but with a minus next to them? That they're somehow different or divided?
I don't think that's I think mainly the people from Indonesia or Suriname, I think a lot of them felt Dutch after a while. Especially who were born in the Netherlands, the children, because they had the same language already. So I think so, because they were never discriminated. I know that. So that's the only ones who are discriminated are the people who came later, from Islam, you know,
Mhm.
they are, yeah. That's
Oh,
what I can
why?
say.
Because they believe in a different religion, or they're,
No,
I guess
because
they're
of their
two
veil
different,
and so on, and, you know,
the
this,
different clothing.
yeah.
Ah,
Also
so,
their
okay.
religion, of course,
Oh,
also
so-
a big problem for maybe a lot of Dutch. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it, but okay, yes, it's like that, you know.
So, well, let me then ask you, I guess maybe then the big question, or sort of a final question here would be, what are your plans for the future? Because now you're in Russia, whether you like it or not, you're kind of trapped here. What are you gonna do then with the rest of your life? Because off camera, your daughter's here, so you actually are, you're not completely like alone by
No,
yourself.
no,
So
no,
you have your
no.
daughter, so
Yeah.
you do have family in Russia now.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? What are the plans? What's the future look like?
Well, I'm working independently, so I'm keep on writing, you know, so for many outlets in Europe, here as well now. So I keep on what I'm doing actually, what I did in the Netherlands, only with this difference that I'm now here in Russia. So yeah, I plan to stay here at least, a few years, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I try to adapt to the life, and I made some friends already, so that's good. So yeah, as long as it stays like this, I like it here. Yeah, it's okay. Learn the language, that's important.
Well, yeah. And
Yeah.
boy, that,
Yeah,
well, that's a big hurdle to get over, but you do pretty darn good with English, so that
Thanks.
shouldn't be too bad, shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
So anyways, guys, Tim, Kirby, Russia, it's Sonia van den Ende, she was with us, journalist from the Netherlands, who's gonna be with us here in Russia for some time. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the program, like, subscribe, but especially share. Come on, guys, just share the videos already. All right, take care.